Welcome in, everybody, for another episode of the Fourth and Goal podcast. I'm your host, Drew, along with Rob. Say hi to the people, Rob.
How you doing, folks? Thanks for joining us this week. We are on the home stretch.
Yep, and as with every week, seemingly, Rob is in a new location.
Yeah, this time coming from my mom's, but hopefully we will be a little bit more settled moving ahead. Thank you guys for the patience, but hey, I am a world traveler, so get used to it, I guess.
Yeah, I want to know how many backdrops you've had throughout this year. That's what I want to know here.
And how many countries? It's been at least 4 to my knowledge. But yeah, it's been a hell of a ride. Like I said, we do not live normal lives, Drew.
Well, I live a fairly normal life. I just, as we talk about on the Twitch, I basically just run money for the mafia. That's what everyone's convinced I do.
Oh yeah, and I don't think they're wrong, but we are on camera here, so let's not discuss any further. Speaking of people that do not live normal lives, Patrick Mahomes, Super Bowl MVP, regular season MVP, no longer the league's pretty boy?
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes, I'll give him a little bit of slack because this is the first time he's ever had a true, outburst or being a little bit of a whiny baby. But my God, was he a whiny baby on Sunday? He's yelling at the refs. He's, telling Josh Allen, oh, that's a bullshit call. It never should have happened. I'm sorry, but you're talking to Josh Allen, the man who literally had you dead to rights in the playoffs a few years back and never got to see the field again, and you're complaining to him?
No, I mean, it was atrocious. I love to see it. He was pretty bitch made that whole time. And the reason I say I love to see it is because the man has had everything go right in his career for the most part. So you like to see a little bit of controversy, stir it up. He will do fine. He's got millions of dollars. He's not going anywhere. But I did love all of the memes that came out where it was like Pat Mahomes when the call goes is in his favor. And he's running up to the refs, pointing, doing all the Pat Mahomes things. And it's oh, okay, finally a call goes against him in a big game. And so that again, this brought a little bit of joy to my heart. Just overall, this Kansas City Chiefs team with the whole, ever since Travis Kelce went to South America to visit Tay-Tay, and now this and the refs and all of it. You know what? I like this. I like the Chiefs running into a little bit of controversy, a little bit of rough and tumble.
And let's be clear here. The penalty was definitely the right call.
Let's get into that later. Let's clean up news and notes because we have a little bit further discussion there. But yes, at the end of the day, and coming from someone who just had a false start called on the offense on a punt, the Steelers, that was something, I think that was 2 weeks ago. So I have no sympathy whatsoever for them, but it was the right call.
Yeah, so let's get into the next one. And the next one's not actually football related, but we got to talk about Shohei Ohtani and this $700 million contract that he signed.
I mean, you'll get into a little bit more. I was excited that this was a great contract for the kid. More importantly, I'm happy that he's leaving the arch rival Los Angeles Angels and heading over to the Dodger Blue. I might even be able to rep an Ohtani jersey, being an diehard A's fan. We have a little bit camaraderie with the Dodgers because they beat the Giants and they're not the Angels, right? So love to see the Dodgers securing the dude. But tell me why you don't think this is as good of a contract as everyone seems to be talking about it.
Yeah, well, one, I'll just say, as a Blue Jays fan, on Friday I was so excited when all the news was that he was flying to Toronto to sign. And then it all came crashing down. It was a very.
You should have known better, buddy. You should have known better.
Yeah, I should have known better than to get my hopes up. But I found out today. So we found out recently that it's $2 million per year for the next 10 years, and then $68 million per year for the 10 years after that. I thought it was $700 million. And he was getting interest on that. No, it's zero interest. It's only $68 million. And I know this is going to go over a lot of people's heads. I'm a finance guy. Again, I run money for the mob, as we all know. No, that means this contract is actually closer to about 10 years, $400 million in terms of fair value. And this is less than the Mike Trout deal, basically. This is similar to more of like an Aaron Judge type deal than it is to what we thought being this game-breaking contract. You know, we were all told the minimum was 10 years, 500 million, and he basically signed for closer to 10 years, 400 in terms of actual value. I don't know why he took such a big discount. Maybe he just wanted to win with the Dodgers, but once that information came out, the 700 million looked a lot less appealing to Ohtani.
Yeah, it's a flashy number. Obviously, you need to quit working for the mafia and go work for Shohei. Sounds like he needs a tax advisor on his team. Or I think really what this means is Magic Johnson wins again. Somehow that guy wins in every facet of life. He manages to make a deal that gets all the headlines, get the big star, and pays no interest on it. I don't know how this affects contracts moving forward, though. I mean, obviously with the cap in the NFL, it's probably maybe not as relevant,
Yeah,
but
baseball and soccer are really the only sports
Right.
that you can do this shit with because of
Right.
the cap. Like every other sport, you can do buyouts and that gives deferred money, but that's the only way you can you could like do a fandangled thing where you basically say, okay, we're gonna do this contract, but we're actually gonna buy you out in this year, and then you get some annuity based on the buyout. That's the only way you could structure it in a capped environment. It really is only in these uncapped sports that this type of thing can exist.
Yep. And so shout out the originator of a similar deal, Bobby Bonilla, who's the famous one. Everyone knows Bobby Bonilla Day when he deferred his contract for a decade and now collects $1.19 million annually. And to the Mets' credit, the new owner went in there and was like, we're going to celebrate this. And so they actually kind of have like a big old thing when Bobby Bonilla makes his $1.19 million. I had been told that that was ending this year, but I looked it up and it looks like it's ending in 2035. So he's still collecting. So shout out Bobby Bonilla for securing the bag for future generations.
The hilarious thing, do you know how much the contract was originally?
No, but I know totaling it ended up at $29.8 million.
Yeah, so it was $6 million that they owed in 1999, and they agreed to an 8% interest back in 99, fixed interest rate, because they were like, hey, we're just going to invest this $6 million into the Madoff fund.
No way!
Yeah. They took the money and said, we can make money off this. We're going to invest in Bernie Madoff, lost all the money, and now we're paying $1.2 million every year.
This might be the all-time greatest contract or worst contract in history, depending on how you look at it, right? Like, greatest for Bonilla, but the Mets, now that you mention it, I do recall that they did lose some money in Madoff, but wow, I didn't realize it was Bobby Bonilla's contract as a result of this whole arrangement. Yeah. So, again, shout out Bobby Bonilla for securing the bag.
Bobby Bonilla might be the only person still making money off Bernie Madoff today.
Besides those Netflix producers.
Yeah.
But anyways, heading back to the sport that we love. Well, not that we don't love all sports, but the focus of the Fourth and Goal podcast, we have our injury corner, which those of you following along, we have moved it back slightly in the news and notes so that we just don't start off with a bummer every podcast. So this big one this week, another quarterback out for the season, Justin Herbert. As fans of this program know, I'm not necessarily sold on the Herbert train long term, but you never, ever want to see this. The Chargers never had a shot anyways, but man, setbacks after setbacks for these guys.
Yeah, this is almost like a positive thing in a way for the Chargers, I think, because the Chargers now don't need to worry about all this contract. Like, they don't need to try to win. They can literally just tank for the rest of the year, get rid of Brandon Staley, fix this whole thing, get a decent draft pick. I mean, and it's not like this is one of those like, oh, he's not going to come back. It's a finger surgery. He'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. They might have just shut him down for the season, like you said, just so that they can relax a little bit. The other big ones is so the Texans, who were on a tear for a bit of the year, they just got Tank Dell ruled out for the season, and CJ Stroud's in concussion protocol. I believe I had the Texans there because I'm banking on. No, we'll get to that later, but so they're out. I'm banking on him not coming back again. These quarterbacks, man.
Like CJ Stroud, I mean, I think he'll miss this game. not too common. You see a concussion, a person come back. Obviously, no Tank Dell. Obviously, they didn't even look good before CJ Stroud went out.
Right.
Like the Jets had their number. So yeah, we'll get into those picks. But I think the last thing we have here is the 49ers clinch the playoff spot. And looks like if they win out, they get number 1 seed thanks to the Dallas Cowboys, which we'll get into that game pretty shortly.
And your pick, your Super Bowl champion 49ers have clinched the playoffs, so that's looking quite good. The Bengals are not out the hunt, but they're also not looking the best.
Jake Browning to the moon.
Dude, Pac-12's all-time winning champion. Pac-12, let's go, baby, let's go.
Pac-12, more like Dead 12. Ooh.
Dude, they have the Pac-2 next year. You be careful. You be careful.
I don't even know who's in the Pac-2.
It's Washington State and Oregon State, and they're keeping all the leftover money. All the other schools wanted it, and they're not giving it to them, and I kind of love that.
I love that. I love that for them. Either way, let's move on to our Week 14 review, and we said we were going to talk about it. Let's get straight into the biggest news. Kadarius Toney's offside, eliminating the unintended hook and ladder touchdown for the Kansas City Chiefs.
So let's start there. I thought that was a designed play. I didn't get to hear a lot of the chatter after, and apparently he admitted that he just fucking winged that out.
He's done it before. This isn't the first time. Travis Kelce, remember, he was recruited to Cincinnati not as a tight end, as a quarterback. He was only converted after he lost his scholarship due to marijuana issues.
Gotta love the Kelce family, dude. It's the gift that keeps giving. But I will say that I saw a similar play. I want to say it was the Ravens or somebody like that, where they had run a little quick slant and then they had an intentional throw it to the sideline where they had another guy coming out. And it just makes me think, is this the next level of offensive game planning and scheming? Can these guys start building in? It's just so high risk, right? If they don't pull it off, it's a fumble and an easy pick, scoop and score, right? And so I think these Mike McDaniel types could start looking at this. They have the right personnel over Miami to do some of these more hook and ladder type things. But let's get to the controversy. Was Kadarius Toney offsides?
Yes, of course he was offside. There's not a question.
I just saw a video where he did the little pointing at the ref thing.
Okay, I played wide receiver before. When you watch that video again, because I've seen that video. He literally goes to the line. He's not even fully set, and he goes like that. He doesn't look like.
And the ref doesn't give him. The ref needs to do the confirmation signal as well, which I didn't see him doing.
Yeah, I'm not gonna hit the refs on this one. We hit the refs enough. The refs made the right call, and that flag wasn't thrown late. That was thrown at the very beginning of the play. It was before any of this shit happened. If they had an incomplete pass or they had a sack, the same thing would have happened.
If that hadn't been the craziest play we've all seen, maybe this year, that's the only reason it's become such a big thing, right?
Yeah, and it was offside. It was the right call, and if we're going to start complaining about this stuff, I saw a video. He was offside multiple times throughout the game. I'm assuming there was some level of communication, watch the offsides at some point. They're saying there wasn't warning. Maybe there wasn't warning to Andy Reid. Kadarius Toney's a fucking idiot. And look at how far offside he is. It's not even close.
His head's over the ball, right?
Yeah, it's egregiously offside. Look, because there's you have to have 7 people on the line of scrimmage. Look how much further back every other line of scrimmage person is. Right. They are a full body length behind him. He is so far offside, so far out to lunch. This is on Toney. And as I said, Patrick Mahomes, and he did apologize. He said he overreacted. And I'm happy he did come out and be because a lot of QBs and a lot of people wouldn't come out and apologize for that. They'd double down. No, he came out and said, no, I acted immaturely. That's on me.
I mean, there's a reason why Mahomes is the golden boy of the NFL, right? He's just a good dude. He got caught up in the moment. I think we all wanted to see a little turmoil in Kansas City. So, you know what? At the end of the day, I like this. This. But let's move on to some of the other games. You know what, man? You were on a roll. We split on the Cowboys and Bills, and you nailed them both. The Bills and
Yep.
the Cowboys with good big statement games. I think the Cowboys in particular had a statement game there. Um, any further comments on those two? What were you seeing heading into the week?
I mean, we obviously talked about the Bill. Like I've said for a little bit, especially since the Bills fired Ken Dorsey, this is the last team anyone wants to play in the playoffs. This team is playing like at worst the second best team in the AFC. The only team that you could argue is better right now is the Baltimore Ravens. Every other team is going through a significant amount of turmoil. The Bills have been on fire. Like this team, you do not want to see. They have a tough schedule remaining, which is why it's not guaranteed they make it. They got the Dolphins, they got the Cowboys, they got some tough games. But goddamn, this team looks good. And then the Cowboys, same thing. Like that's going to be one hell of a matchup this week, Bills and Cowboys. Like,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah,
Monday night. So I do want to comment on the Ravens being the best team in the AFC. I've always said all year long before the injuries hit, the AFC North was the toughest division, and they are sitting at the number one seed, which I think is both a testament and also like it. The AFC is just a carnivorous gauntlet. These teams are taking each other out. There's injuries all over, but the Ravens look good. And I think what the Ravens have going for them, one, they seem like a very chemistry team. Like I see those guys like just gelling right now. And two, they're kind of the forgotten about team in the AFC, right? Everyone, the Miami is the media darlings. You have the Chief and the Bills, who everyone always talks about. You have like the Jags and the Texans being frisky, and then all of a sudden, in the Bengals underperforming. I think the Ravens, that's like that nobody believes in us. The Bill Simmons, nobody believes in us. I think the Baltimore Ravens got a lot of that right now because even though they're the number one seed, they're not. Look, they're what the fifth topic even for us this week. You
well,
know,
I
so
mean, I'll say, as I said there, and I maintain, like, to me, there are, right now in the league, I'd put four elite teams. And those four elite teams are um, the Ravens, the 49ers, the Eagles, the Cowboys. To me, that's the four. Those are the most elite. Now, on the outside looking in, I think you got teams like the Bills with how they're playing lately. The Chiefs are on the outside looking in. You might be able to argue the Lions if they're playing like they were earlier in the season, not as much so lately.
right,
Um,
right, right.
but yeah, these are
I would say the Dolphins, but after last night,
no. You know, I've been out on the Dolphins all year. I've been selling the Dolphins all year, and I think last night showed. And you know, I think it's a good time to talk about some of the Monday Night Madness, we'll call it, because let's start with the Dolphins and Will Levis making an amazing 13-point comeback.
dude, and he was wheeling and dealing in that game. That wasn't like an accidental comeback or anything lucky. He was making great throws. He was poised. He was juiced. You see him on the sideline, just absolutely tearing a new one. I think it was after a turnover or something like that. Like he was
Mm-hmm.
just screaming and jumping up and down. I mean, I think we've both been Will Levis fans this season. He had a couple struggle games after that 4 touchdown performance. The team didn't win very much, and he wasn't doing the best. But man, he looked good, and that could be a tough Tennessee team. Maybe not this year, but heading into next year.
Yeah, this is a team that Will Levis has shown me enough to say this is a guy who give him some seasoning, give him some better weapons, a better O line, etc. He's a guy that has the potential to be legit. We've seen enough for me to say, okay, this is a guy I'd be happy to try to build around for a little bit. Um,
I would trade Kenny Pickett for him straight up.
I'm sure you would. And so you should. Kenny Pickett is not what I just said, a guy you want to build around.
You know who we might want to build around is Tommy DeVita, baby. New York Football Giants. 1 game out of the playoffs. The man lives with his parents and wins football games. What more do you want? Fans of this program know that I've been on the Tommy DeVita wagon since he first showed up into the league.
yeah, I don't understand the Tommy DeVito. You know, the hype is massive, and I don't fully get it. I'll be honest. I don't like. He's being decent. You know, I'll give him credit. He's like, I have one read, maybe two, and then I'm running, and that's what you need to do when you're at that level. It's
I mean, is
working.
the hype that big though? Like,
I've heard people talking this is the biggest hype for an individual since Jeremy Lin. That's what some people are saying. They're putting it on Jeremy Lin conversation, and that's when I
Okay,
know
well, let's
this is out of control.
I've been an OG Tommy DeVita, but let's not Jeremy Lin. There's not like a billion people that are tuning in all of a sudden that hadn't been tuning in
Yeah,
before
I'm
because of
with
this
you.
guy,
I
right?
saw that on. I was watching the Pat McAfee show, and they started saying this is the biggest thing since Jeremy Lin. I'm
Oh,
like,
okay. Well, they're high on that show, anyways. Yeah. There might be a couple extra Sicilians or Genovese checking in, but I just love it. It's again, he's living at home. Jeremy Lin was too, but it's a little bit different. Let's calm down on the
yeah,
hyperbole there.
yeah. Last
Just
thing
a
I want to
couple
say
other.
with the Monday Nighter though, we saw life without Tyreek for the Dolphins. It doesn't look good.
No, it does not. Also, the Packers are in the Bengal and Steeler territory of just absolute enigmas to me. They seem to look good. They put together some drives, then they make stupid mistakes. They can win a game, they can lose a game. I'm staying away from the Packers for the rest of this season. I just don't know what we're gonna get with them in any week. I can't tell you if Jordan Love's good at football. It's like, do
He's
they?
worth sticking with. He's worth sticking with, but you're right. He's in that Will Levis camp where it's like I would try to build with him, but you don't know. And the thing is, Jordan Love has a lot more talent around him than Will Levis does. That's one thing I will say for Love. He's got
True.
some talent.
Quick question for you: over under 0.5 seconds of that Vikings Raiders games that you watched.
Under. Under.
I didn't even watch the highlights.
Nope.
I saw it was a 3-0 victory and was like, all right, Josh Dobbs, thanks for being the pastronaut, but I think some of the luster of him's fallen down too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still on board with the Passion on. I love it, but this isn't too unexpected in all honesty. Like, he rode the hype train. There was a lot of stuff, but his teams learn how to defend him. This is the same thing that happened with Arizona. They looked really good early in the season. They had some good games early. They beat the Cowboys early, Josh Dobbs did. And then it kind of fell off. And now, since Kyler Murray's come back, they've won 2 games when they only won 1 with Josh Dobbs. Like, it's a better team. Like,
Yeah.
and Kyler Murray's the guy we've talked about the Cardinals potentially wanting to replace as well. So, like, Josh Dobbs, he's Ryan Fitzpatrick. This is what we talked about. This is who he is. He's a serviceable stopgap quarterback. He's not a guy you build a franchise around.
Agreed. Now, is Zappy a guy you build around?
No.
He took it to the Steelers. I think that was just a lucky Thursday night game against a team who's in a bit of a stumbling mode right now.
Yeah. Like, no quarterbacks there. I think the Patriots, here's my hot take. I don't think this is going to happen, but I think there's a possibility. Steelers 2 seed, Panthers 1, Steelers 2 pick, Panthers 1, which goes to the Bears. The Bears decide again to stick with Justin Fields, trade back 1 slot with the Patriots, who move up and get Caleb Williams. That's my spicy take.
Okay.
That's
I
my
like that.
spicy
I like
take.
that.
I don't think it'll happen, but it's not out of the realm of
Well,
possibility.
if the Bears keep winning games against the likes of the Lions, who
Yeah,
knows?
and that's what I'm saying. Like, every so often, like we saw a few weeks ago, the Bears and the Vikings looked like one of the worst games, but then he looks good against the Lions. Now, let me be clear. That's because the Lions can't defend running quarterbacks. We can't do it. We have an inability.
That and, I bet on them. And so both times I bet on them to win or cover, they lose, and so did my team. So obviously the stink
Please
of...
don't bet on the Lions anymore. Don't do this to me.
Josh Reynolds, like I'm a slaughtering machine with your Lions, right? Since you've mentioned the draft, I do want to shout out one quick thing, which is the wide receivers from this year's draft, a lot of whom are performing well. And in particular, there was that 21, 22, 23 run in the first round where Zay Flowers went to Baltimore at 22, Jordan Addison to Minnesota at 23. And you still got guys like Jaden Reed, Rashee Rice, Tank Dell, Josh Downs, Puka Nacua, who went in the 177th pick, all of who are outperforming the 21st pick, Quentin Johnston, for the Chargers. Is that not one of the biggest whiffs that you can think of? That's like Steph Curry going after 3 straight point guards.
Yeah, it's a pretty big whiff. I mean, Quentin Johnson was always supposed to be he was always supposed to be kind of the medium guy, I guess, like the what's the term? the prospect, the like
Okay.
you're taking him to mold him, to build him. He's raw talent. But
Yeah, but
like
the Chargers don't
you
do
need
that
more
well.
than just this from raw talent, even if it's raw talent. Like you don't need him to be the guy immediately. You don't need him to be at the level of Puka Nakua and Tank Dell and some of these guys, but you need him to be better than what he's been, especially when Mike Williams went down and he was thrown into you gotta be a player now.
190 yards is all he's put up all
Yeah.
season. And you got like Puka Nakua, shout out, last pick of that bunch, 924, leading the pack. So
Yeah.
just wanted to take a look at that quickly before we head into week 15.
Yeah, let's go talk about week 15. We're running a little behind here, so we'll try to get through this in a reasonably quick amount of time. So we got our picks up here. And Rob, why don't you tell me about some of the big matchups that you have?
Well, I can't believe that all three of us are going to take the Raiders after they just lost 3-0. Three of us being me, Drew, and Vegas.
Yeah.
But the Chargers without Herbert. But the way these quarterbacks are stepping in, I have a feeling we might all lose that. We are also all aligned on the Bengals. Yet again, me, Drew, and Vegas.
Yeah,
That
I'll
never
pull
goes
Vegas
well
up
for
here.
us.
Yeah, that means
Obviously,
the
I'm feeling my
Bengals are
Steelers
losing.
on the road against Indianapolis. I'm not scared there. We differ on the Giants Saints because I'm a big Tommy DeVita fan. They're on the road, and the Saints are like the Falcons to me. Like, what are these teams? Otherwise, some of these games are pretty boring, but I love the I think Ravens Jags is going to be really exciting. We got Eagles, Seahawks, Cowboys, Bills. So we are closing out the team hot. We have the same locks, 49ers on the road to the Cardinals. I did look at the Chiefs quickly against the Patriots just because I think the Chiefs are going to lay some paint, but who knows with the Zappy thing. So
Yeah.
I thought they'd come out with a vengeance. So I was close to making that my lock. And then the other big one I went with, my Commanders. They need a win. They're on the road. Let's go. Let's beat the Rams. That team's boring. No, no
Not gonna
Sam
happen.
Howell.
Not gonna
All
happen.
right, all
But
right. What
yeah,
about you? What are you thinking this week?
this was a week I made my picks blind, like not knowing who the favorites were. I was shocked how little underdogs I picked. I thought I actually picked a lot of underdogs.
Me too. I
thought
took these
the
blind too,
I
but
thought
they're
the
all a lot of them
Raiders
are
might
close.
be. I thought the Bengals might be. I thought, who were some other ones? I thought the Packers might be. I
The
thought
Falcons,
the Bills would be. I thought the
the
Titans would be.
Buccaneers, even right, like
Just some of
against the
these were.
Packers.
Yeah, so like some of these I was shocked that I was picking favorites. I thought that I was like, oh, I'll pick like a little bit differently here, and yeah, I only
My
picked two
favorite pick of
upsets.
yours,
The
if I may.
Panthers?
Carolina Panthers at home against the Enigma Falcons. The Falcons are in the Tyson zone anyways.
Yeah, I'm like it's at home. I hate picking road teams. I always like to pick home teams for like when it's close, and that's one of those. That team's an enigma. The Falcons, they can lose to anyone. I'm like, why not? Why not the Panthers pulling one out here?
So just like last week, we differ on two of these big, hot, and heavy games. You like the Bills at home against the Cowboys. I was just thinking about the weather conditions there. That might have changed. I wasn't quite thinking about that. I took the Cowboys, again, another team that I have struggled to pick correctly. And then you also took the Seahawks at home against the Eagles, who have been struggling. Is this just home picks because they're playing at home? Or are you feeling that these teams are getting hot at the right time?
This is a little bit of home picks. This is also that the Seahawks, like they lost to the 49ers this week. That's fine. They lost to the 49ers 2 weeks ago, and they lost to the Cowboys the last week. These are not easy games, and they had a really good showing against the Cowboys, who just dusted the Eagles. So this is one of those. It's a Monday nighter. We've had some wild stuff happen on Monday night. This is 100% an upset pick, but I just was like, you know what? I think the Eagles could pull it out, and I think it would be really interesting to see the Cowboys win this division. Um, but also even then, I didn't pick the Cowboys to win. I picked the Bills to win. So like, I'm just being a little bit spicy with those ones.
Yeah, I
for
thought
sure.
there was a little bit of you just being a little anti-contrarian. One bet I got really, really close to taking. Sorry, not bet, pick. was a little Jets on the road beating the Dolphins.
I
I
considered
looked at
that.
that
I
hard.
considered that too. I went back and I'm like, how did the Jets and Dolphins game go earlier this year? That was what I wanted to know. If the Jets defense was able to stop this team, and it's like, no, the Dolphins scored 34 in New York, and I'm like, okay, I'm taking the Dolphins.
Yeah, yeah. They do trounce bad teams because Will Levis, as we know, is not bad.
Yeah, exactly.
All
Yeah,
right.
so that's the picks. Let's get into our bets because again, we're a little bit over
Yeah.
time here.
So we're in best bets with Bookie Bob. Fun fact: Bookie Bob hasn't placed a winning bet since week 10. He's now sits at minus $77, and the stink is real. I throw it on my team. I throw it on your team. They lose. I threw it on the University of Cincinnati to beat the crosstown rivals and Xavier public school kids. First loss of the season. I bet on Jokic when he was his worst shooting performance ever against the Clippers. So I'm really good at gambling, for those of you that don't know. Drew, on the other hand, is also coming back down to earth. I think
Yeah, I
he
haven't
missed.
been very good lately.
Yeah, you actually missed 3 whole bets this week, and they weren't even really close. But you are still sitting at about $177 profit. So
See, this was the
you're,
thing. I started out hot, and now I'm just like lightly testing waters.
yeah, exactly. So what are you testing this week then?
So I don't fully know what's gonna go there, but I just felt so I'm actually gonna be at the Saturday night game, Lions and Broncos in Detroit. So I decided I just want it to be a good game, so I picked the Lions to win and the game to hit the over on a parlay. That's what I'm picking. It's just I'm picking for my own enjoyment.
That's a fun one. That you always want to have a little spice on the game. Are you going north to Detroit to get to that game?
I go south and then north. Yes.
Because that's one of the fun geography facts. Not only is Atlanta more west than Detroit, but if you go due south from Detroit, you get to Canada. So for those of you that like your geography, that's a
Windsor,
fun one.
Ontario. So we'll be driving down to Windsor and then up to Detroit.
All right. And you know what? Because you're at that game, maybe I'll throw $5 on it. Who knows?
Don't fucking do it. Don't jinx this shit.
Well, mine, again, I think I'm going to look a little bit deeper into the games as we get closer to Sunday and Saturday. Let's not forget we got a couple Saturday games, my Steelers included. I took a fun one because we did have a 3-0 game last week, and I think we had like a 6-0 game the week before.
We did.
So I threw $2 on any game to be 0-0 at halftime for plus 1,000. I'll probably miss it, but these are the kind of bets that like might turn it around, and it could happen. These have been, we've seen some awful offenses. We got no-name quarterbacks like Tommy DeVito out there winning games, so I could easily see one of these games. I just need any game in Week 15 to be 0-0 at halftime.
This is the
and that
$2 Falcons. This is Panthers Falcons.
Yes,
or
got it
or
all
Chargers,
written all over.
Chargers Raiders on Thursday night. The Chargers were in the 6-0 game, and the Raiders were in the 3-0 game. So,
or Commanders Rams. Like, there's some options out there. So that's a fun one. That $2 is on a plus 1,000, so that'll give $20 profit. My math's right, $22 profit. If we can get that
and
right.
Mine's just at $5 at plus 160. It's not a crazy bet. Again, we're just betting for a good game. But either way, anything else you want to say in Best Bets with Bookie Bob before we close this one out, Rob?
Nope, that's it. Let's hope we can both turn it around this week. Daddy needs a new pair of shoes heading into the Christmas season. Let's go.
Okay, well, that's it for another episode of the Fourth and Goal podcast. You can also find us on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitch at Fourth and Goal 101. We will be doing live streams on Thursday night, Sunday night, and Monday night as we do every week, so please tune into those. And with that, we hope to see you all there, and if not, next week. Later.
All right, folks. Take care.